There are different versions of this chart out there. My friend Peter Garrett, who will speak after me, has a version perhaps that he's shown in the past, and we know that organizations such as AVAC also have their version, and we've adopted this one just to simplify it a little bit. Funding seems to be always a perennial question. I shouldn't say funding, it's access to funding. Because I want to get away from that discussion argument of that is there enough money or is there lack of money? Well, there's lots of money. It's access to it in terms of the healthcare industry and as well as other high-tech industries. And you see in the early stages, the entrepreneurs or the business people need to rely on their own funds. And we're getting better at it. If you were showing this chart 5 or 6 years ago, there wouldn't be some of these organizations, some of these sources of money on that chart as well. Now, even though we have presence in terms of each of these stages of development, does not mean the gap is totally filled. But nevertheless, progress has been made in terms of supporting that innovation environment. Some would say that there is yet to be a dedicated biotech fund in the province of Alberta. We would suggest that while that may be needed, there are other things as well that are needed in parallel to that to make sure that the quality and the quantity of deal flow continues to increase as well. No sense having a fund by itself without having quantity and quality of deal flow. Now here's a different way of showing the number of programs in each of the categories which you would expect innovation support to be given. And we have financial, high-quality personnel, business services, research, R&D, product development, and incubators. We divided up by startup, small, medium-sized, and multinationals. As you would expect, most of the programming in Alberta is provided to startups and SMEs. And as a result, there are a significant number of programs in each of these areas if you combine the federal government and the provincial government and local programming. And as a result, there is an ongoing review, as you've probably heard about the initiative in Alberta at least, where it started out being called zero-based budgeting, and of course it's changed its terminology now, but essentially we will be on an annual cycle reviewing all the programs that we deliver and that we're responsible for to look at for improvement and or elimination or basically bringing them together. And I think that would be welcome in any event. Now, I wanted to show you that the progress continues. Here's a bit of a timeline from June 2004 to basically 2010. A number of events, a number of announcements have been made to improve the innovation environment in the province of Alberta. And while we may not be totally there and 100% what it ought to be, it is an iterative process. And as time moves on, we would expect that there would be some more iterations that would happen. And as you look at this, there have been steps taken almost every year since 2007 to improve that environment, to the point where more recently in 2010, we launched the Alberta Innovates system. Some of you are familiar with this diagram. It's been shown around the province quite a bit in the last few years. But in the snapshot, it shows the organizations involved with innovation. It also acknowledges the need for industry and post-secondary institutions to tie into that. Now, there are processes which are not on this map, which bind these organizations together to coordinate the business planning and the science planning that goes on, as well as the request for funding. There's various committees and various organizations that pull this together. Is it perfected yet? No. Again, it's an iterative process because as time goes on, we are working through improving this structure and this organization. As you know, for example, Alberta Innovates Technology Futures has a new CEO and president, and he has yet had a chance to take that organization and move it ahead in a significant way, and I know that he's working on that very hard, and we can expect some interesting things to come out of that in the future. And so we've simplified the system in the nutshell. There are 10 organizations, and we were always great in this province to create more organizations when we saw more gaps. We just create more organizations and more funds. But at this point in time, the public, and including folks like yourself, told us that the system is fragmented and wasn't working together. So as a result of 2 public consultations. Here's our latest version of what the innovation system looks like. And again, we're looking at how we might bind these organizations together a little closer and be able to provide a little more coordination in terms of how they operate. And so we've separated the research doers from the research funders in part, so that it would avoid any conflict of interest in some cases. And as we move ahead, we also are strengthening what we call the regional network system. And our friends at Alberta Innovates Technology Futures are responsible for carrying that forward and making sure that innovation service providers in the regions are also part of this system. And you'll see in the green boxes commercialization service providers. So we're tying in the regional entities that provide support in that space so that we have a connected system. What does it mean by moving forward? I already mentioned to you about Alberta Oil Sands Technology, AOSTRA 2. And secondly, we can't ignore energy and environment. And so as a result, there are many technologies in that sector which we would look forward to looking at how they might apply in other sectors. Also, there are many lessons perhaps we can learn in terms of business modeling that can come from that industry or those industries. We know that entrepreneurship and SME support are crucial. Some of you have come to us and said we should have an Alberta-based SBIR program as they have in the United States. Well, as time passes by, maybe that will come to pass. We'll see. But at the same time, we all agree, I think, that there needs to be the right type of support, not just more, but the right type of support for entrepreneurship and small, medium enterprises. And health innovation, given the audience here, we are making continued plans to work with Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services. It's not a public announcement, but basically we have created what we call an innovation scoping group with AHW and AHS, and we work together now to review together proposals by companies and technology assessments, etc. So as time marches forward, we are drawing and forging closer links. So there's a coordinated way to look at the application of these technologies and these companies in the health sector in Alberta. The Premier made public the mandate letters for her ministers and cabinet the other day. In case you haven't seen them, here are the key areas in which she stated the priorities to be: early childhood development, primary health care, education and entrepreneurship. And that is where we'll probably center most of our efforts in our ministry to work towards helping her deliver in those mandates. A rebalanced fiscal framework, an integrated resource system, and of course expanded market access, with some focus on oil and gas, but also recognizing that expanded market access means more than just oil and gas. And so as a result, these mandates I would expect, given my exposure already to our new minister and our new deputy minister, Minister Stephen Kahn and Deputy Minister David Morhart, they will probably push us to the edge to help deliver on these mandates which pertain to us. Now, I'm also happy to let you know that having spent some time with these two gentlemen, the minister and the deputy minister, they are two individuals that get it. Minister Kahn has a business background, and Deputy Minister Morhart has a significant variety of background which enables him to speak business as well as research. So I'm looking forward myself to working very closely with these individuals to move the innovation agenda ahead. So I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. We'll maybe take one question. If there's anyone that has any questions at this point, we will have the opportunities in the panel discussion. Are there any burning questions that anyone has? Well, that was delivered with great clarity because we don't have a single question, but I know there are some on the Twitter feeds that have come up, so thank you very much for that presentation.